pick.
The thing about this Misfortune ban is that if they don't ban it, then obviously Peace can leave both the Lucian and the Misfortune available and can take the other. This will force the response of the Lucian ban coming out. So it's either you get both or you get neither. And they're going to go right back to this Lee Sin, pick here. And this is going to leave things very open-ended. But for Peace now, I think you could still feel very comfortable to potentially pick up that Nidalee pick early on in the draft. They're going to grab this Leona first. It's been such a hotly contested pick, so much engaged potential. She's so survivable. I've been talking about it a lot. I tweeted about it yesterday. Her win rate was 10-0. It's dropped a little bit since then, but she is just so powerful right now in this tournament. Instead of taking the Nidalee, they'll go for, well,
still thinking.
Okay,
and it will be the Lilia.
They will take the Lilians.
Yeah. And the problem, you know, even with banning the Misfortune, I feel like taking Misfortune to Lucian would have been fine. But now you've expended a ban on the Kennen as well as the Misfortune, so you don't get to ban away the Silas, which is another thing that the desk was talking about. You basically, you're target banning the one Aurelia. And other than that, it's just, you know, strong picks. As Zaya Rakan will be coming in here, so it looks like they had a very specific idea in mind with what they wanted to go for. We saw that Draven there hovered for just a moment. But let's see what Violet is actually going to play.
Some options there. The Tristana is a really strong pick here in this case. The Ezreal obviously can be very good in the late game. You have a lot of options because you already have really nice engage with both the Lilia and the Leona here. You don't want to leave the AD carry pick for later because obviously a lot of those potential picks can be targeted in that second ban phase. They'll end up going with the Aphelios here, which is a really nice mix of both late game scaling but also potential engage tools as well with the Gravitum to come through. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of power around the mid to late game with this composition already here for Peace.
Yeah, you have so much range, you know, grab and engage potentially, right? You have Solar Flare, you have the Drowsy from long range with the Lilia, you even have the Gravitum that you did mention, and you're already looking at a Rakan and a Lee Sin. It's a couple of champions that, if you can avoid their CC, the Aphelios will be very good against because they will be right in his face. Again, keyword if he can avoid the CC. Probably taking Cleanse in this one, but we'll have to wait and see as the Rise and the GP are going to be taken off the board so far.
We'll see what the next ban is going to be here against Grevthar. The Silas is another ban that's still an option here. Could be taken away for Grevthar, like Grevthar could play it himself going into this next phase. Take away the Zoe instead, which I haven't been too convinced about a lot of the Zoe play we've seen in this tournament so far here in play-ins.
And then there was Blulu, who absolutely popped off on that pick. But
yeah.
You are right. I mean, it's not something that consistently should be coming out, I don't think, in this current meta, but, you know, occasionally does have huge pop-off performances. And speaking of which, Tryndamere also going to be taken away from Talia. You think he's going back to the Silas here, or what are we looking at?
I mean, there's another option in the Twisted Fate. With the Rise ban here, it's very difficult to match that rotation. However, with the Silas counter pick to the Twisted Fate, that's one way you can match that rotation, but it's going to be reliant on hijacks. Looks like they're going to save the pick for counter here and go with a very aggressive Aatrox here for Vizitachi in the top lane. And this is something that, if you end up getting the upper hand, as we've seen with rare matchups here for Gigo already, as Vizitachi, he will control that lane. He will control the ability to take that vision away and even take duels in the side lane, as we saw Raz mentioning the lack of experience there clearly against the Jarvan. Let's see what he ends up picking here.
Well, he had a little smirk on his face, so I don't think it's the Nico, but it will actually be the Yone that does come in here for Grevthar, you would have to expect, and seems like they're all smiles about that as well, as we are going to have to see the response to the Aatrox now.
A lot of 80 damage on this roster right now. You've got an 80 mid laner, and you've got the Lee Sin here, so with the cannon removed, in terms of AP threats in the top lane, not a lot of great options. So will be the Silas to come through, actually, as a bit of a flex here. So very unusual to see this. Now, as Peace, the Twisted Fate's still an option here, but you can also just go down a different path and go for a control mate. You already have that really great long-range engage setup. Something like an Orianna wouldn't be crazy.
It's Poppy!
My God, Poppy!
He actually, oh no! This is so fantastic!
This is actually so hype.
It's awesome! I mean, they flex the Aatrox in the mid lane, they give Vizitachi, of all people, his Poppy, and it's probably going to be against, I mean, it's going to be good into either the Yone or the Silas, so whatever does go into that top lane, he should be absolutely happy to go up against even the Lee Sin as well. It feels so good.
Yeah, it looks like Yone will be going to the top lane to leave the Sylas to mid for that extra dueling power there against this Aatrox. It's not going to feel amazing, though, to deal with this Poppy. Now you have an insane front line. You have both long-range engage as piece and the follow-up that comes with it. And when you look at the power this composition is going to have in the mid game, you have a Lilia who can set up for those sleeps. You have an Aatrox who's going to be very happy to duel. Can even, oftentimes 1v2, slow things down until you get that rotation of Lilia over. We've seen so many successful engages with this Lilia pick for Bobbip. It's been arguably, in my opinion, his best champion so far this tournament because he's the type of player who will utilize his top players engage. You'll see Visitachi go in first, then he'll flash, follow up with the Q, stopwatch, set up for the sleep. Something we've seen from him so many times, and something that has been relatively ignored. I mean, completely ignored in this best of 5 by Red Canids. We mentioned it even before game 1, and in this third game, I'm liking the draft a lot more.
This just feels right, That last pick, the second it got locked in, I was just like, ooh, these are the good feels coming in for the side of Peace. They saved the counter pick, and they used it perfectly. How many times have we seen teams on the red side just go in ahead and say, okay, well, I guess we'll just, pick whatever we're strong at. But no, this time around, it's actually very well thought out. They get yet another champion that really doesn't like the Poppy, and then they just slam it down. They auto-lock it. It feels so fantastic.
It's such a famous pick for this player as well. You consider Visitachi's history, it almost feels like it's a statement pick as well in that regard. And we knew it was coming, almost like Chekhov's gun. It's Chachi's Poppy coming in, right? It's the new literary term. But I feel like when you look at what Red Canids got at the end of the day, I mean, the Sylas pick here is going to be strong in a lot of cases, still has a lot of mid-game power, but it felt like okay, we've got to pick something AP because otherwise our roster is completely AD damaged, really easy to itemize against, especially when there's an Aatrox on the other side, Poppy on the other side, and even with that Sylas AP damage coming through, it's not going to be something you could do consistently, so the itemization becomes so easy here for Peace, and Red Canids also are going to have the issue of how do you control the mid-game, because remember, as we've discussed a lot in this best of 5 and leading up to it, and it's come true, when Red Canids get to the late game, sometimes the decision-making just isn't as strong as Pieces, and their composition that they're up against is so strong in the mid-game, so in order to win this one, you're going to have to get this Xayah late game online. We'll see if he can pull it off.
That's a really sick knock-up, as Violet is going to get a couple of shots in, but mostly into shields, so JoJo's starting us off very nicely down in the bottom side, some level 1 shenanigans. As we'll see who does hit level 2 first here. Of course, Violet with the Calibrim will have the range advantage and be very annoying, like how he's abusing that range advantage for now. And of course, we're going to have this camera up in the top lane, I would assume, a lot of times, as long as there's any amount of action up here. Interesting to see this matchup, the Yone into the Poppy. Definitely not one that we see very often, if at all, here in Professional League of Legends.
Definitely rare to see. Poppy's return to pro play somewhat recently. It was kind of a rarity and usually in the support role, especially here in the LCK. And to see it in the top lane once again, it's just such a formidable tank, a lot of engage opportunities, so difficult to deal with that front line. When it comes crashing into you with an Aatrox, it means that Bobbip has so many angles, he can take so many free ways to get in there and get that sleep off. And I'm really worried for Red Canids taking some of these mid-game fights, because in terms of ultimates to steal here too, as the Sylas, there's not a whole lot you feel like you're going to get insane value out of, especially in these early scrappy fights.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Solar Flare, you've got like World Ender, there are a couple, but definitely will be struggling to find multiple. And you just consider like what this Poppy's role will be. I mean, he could even just sit on top of the Aphelios and just laugh at the enemy team. I mean, there's 4 melee champions that have dashes on the side of Red Canids. I mean, that's the one thing. And then you got the AD carry, who doesn't have the longest range in the world? It's Xayah. Like, if Violet is not in the front line getting charmed up, then I think he should be in a really fantastic spot and very well protected. So that front line you were talking about, Wolf, I think it's just going to be so comfortable here for the side of Violet. Now, it is going to have to come down to execution, right? They're going to have to group up as 5. They're going to have to get the Steadfast present at the exact right time. There is still really almost instant engage from the side of Red Canids. And speaking of which, there's going to be one as flash for flash, and Red Canids will enjoy that.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice pickup there. Have a lot more threat on this Aphelios. Vizichachi going to come over here and try to put a little hurt onto that ability to get the scuttle here for Aegis, but Aegis is able to smite it and take it away. But he is putting a lot of pressure on the Yone now on the top side of the map. As you can see, there's a lot of control there. The bot pressure that you see against this Aphelios isn't insignificant. It's not insignificant, but it's not that impactful yet. As we're going to see a re-engage.
Yeah, they're getting on in there. Violet is going to dodge the knockup, but the feathers are pulled back. Titan takes a lot of damage. The Ignite, though, onto Violet. The Ignite as well onto Titan. And Aladoric will be able to push it forward for the first blood. Perfectly played around the engage range there by Violet, and they get just enough damage to stop it.
Jojo going to have to stop his back here temporarily as well and sit under this turret. But this is part of the reason why he might have a little bit more action here. But part of the reason why, you know, Leona ends up being kind of a counter pick for Rakan, because it's so easy to re-engage when the attack comes through. And this is what I was saying. It's not insignificant. They have this push and this pressure onto Violet, but he's still CSing very well under turret. So they try to push the issue even further here. Look at Aladoric. He's already on the back side of this fight. There's a turret shot that goes through, and if you can't finish Violet off in that first moment, it's not going to go well for you, obviously, against this extremely tanky Leona.
Violet, it was like he was figure skating or something. Like, you know, he's got his guns out, he's doing a lot of damage, and he just sidesteps perfectly away from the grand entrance. Kind of just laughs at the Rakan, and Leona is able to finish the job. So really nicely played down there. We are getting a great look at this top lane as, okay, Vizichachi really trying to press the issue here. Probably didn't have to do that, especially without level 6, but you can tell, as you said, Wolf, he's trying to make a statement in this game, not only with this pick, but with this play. As it does look like Red Canids, though, will be able to pick up the Infernal Drain.
Yeah, with the position of that wave on the bottom side, there's just nothing that Violet can do to rotate over. They have enough priority there to make it happen. Vizichachi not having the ability, either of the top laners teleporting in here means you can take that one away essentially for free, despite the mid pressure there that Tally had. Speaking of Tally, no vision here for a long ways up. By the time he shows, Vigo's going to have to react. And I think Vizichachi didn't sell that one well enough. It became a little bit obvious walking through the minions by the time he got to the ward. Already, Gigo was out of there. Still had flash, only used his ultimate in that last exchange to get out.
That's really the thing. Wasn't really a lot of kill pressure on the side of Vizichachi when he did go for the flash to stop the ultimate, as now here is Bobip, and he is on the hunt. As the teleports will be coming in, one apiece. Vizichachi pretty low, though. You can see Grepthar still going to respect it as the World Ender is stolen here. He just trying to make his way in, gonna dodge that Poppy ultimate, but the damage, it buys enough time to get down to Silas, as Grepthar will not be able to escape, and Bobip is just prancing around this rift and will set up a kill.
Yeah, that was such a massive flash there from Tally to get that in and on top. And when you watch these plays happen from Peace, their macro sense is so good, knowing, tracking this placement there of Gigo in the lane is,
oh man,
we're not done yet.
Sleep comes down. It seems like they did not expect Tally, but they absolutely destroy him behind the turret, and Gigo in a little bit of trouble too. He's gonna get the knock-up. Tally takes a lot of damage here.
No minions.
Yeah, and Gigo will actually live to tell the tale, 1v3.
Meanwhile,
just a huge trade down in the bottom side. You see Titan has to back away. He hits the Q with the Calibrum, and he has to flash away. What is going on here? Violet and Aladoric doing a fantastic job. Will win another trade in the bottom.
They will win the trade here. Titan survives just barely with his ultimate there and the flash, but doesn't change the fact that Violet is going to be able to push this in for free. He's got the Crescendum out right now. This means Jojo is going to have to stick around. But the teleport here that comes through from Tally is just so fantastic. You can see it's matching, of course, the teleport coming through from Grevthar. But with an Aatrox at this stage of the game, this is what I was talking about. The mid-game power that Peace's composition has with this Aatrox with the Poppy is just so insane.
Yeah.
And he flashes in, gets on top there, and they're able to almost turn this into a double. Gigo just barely survives, but they get so much control. And it's not just here on the top side. Obviously, as we talked about on the bottom side, that push was coming through there as well. They almost get a kill there. It's going to cost a lot of farm to Titan. You can see he's falling a little bit behind now, trying to clean some of that up. But Peace just having such a great sense of the macro game. And Red Canids, we know that when they're behind at this stage in the game, catching up is just so difficult for them, especially with this composition. I think it's going to be even harder.
That's the thing. I mean, we were already singing the praises of Peace just with the draft. And so far, I mean, the game has not gone much differently, as Tally is in a bit of trouble here. As now he's trying to turn it around, though, with the World Ender. He is just sustaining through all the damage. It was only Grefthar, and especially when Bobbin shows up, who is, by the way, 2-0. As it looks like Visitachi did get ganked, though, so Red Canids were able to find some value, at least, up on the top side.
Yeah, they were able to identify that with Bobbin coming down to the bottom side there was going to be a juicy opportunity there in the top lane, as Visitachi's not that tanky just yet, but still, it's a kill for a kill while Tally picks up plates here, and it's a lot of extra gold going over to Bobbin. And we've seen this happen time and time again with Bobbin, historically speaking, on these AP jungle champions. He gets a lead, he starts to snowball the game, ends up getting great engages, whether it's the Nidalee Spears or it's the Qs coming through here on the Nidalee to set up for those sleeps, or excuse me, the Lilia to set up for those sleeps. It's really, really not the player you want to get fed. He's already got 5 stacks of the Dark Sealas. This is not a Rift Herald you want to contest alone.
He is just going to get stunned 100-0. No escape for him, as he was desperately just trying to get any vision possible. He was the first in, and he'll be the last in, as that will be basically a free one, as Aladoric was up there, so they're going to go for the dive underneath this one, but Violet is just standing up to them with the Severum, says no thank you, and just like that, we'll pick up the 1v1. Jojo had to leave early, and the sustain was just too much. Violet picks up a kill.
And he's got the Severum, so he could just sustain right back. As you mentioned, it's so insanely good for him. And I hate to say it, but for Red Canids, there's not a whole lot of good news right now. And Peace have such dominant control of the map. We don't usually call games over at this stage of League of Legends and professional play, especially not in play-ins, but right now, I don't see a way back in.
Hey, the steadfast presence is in. It's early. Ego is pretty low, but Grefthar should be able to finish the job, but no, Flash does come through.
Chains miss.
Visitachi will be able to get away from those chains, so yes, I mean, Red Canids are finding some value against Visitachi, the Poppy, the tank. But that's nothing compared to what we're seeing here. Now we're going to see even more as the Rift Herald is coming down in the mid lane. Going to take down this mid turret first, as we are going to have a bit of a fight. Red Canids are desperately trying to stop this turret from going down. I suppose at least they will stop that, but Peace, they are basically taking all the objectives and whatever they want at this point.
Yeah, no, taking the Drake on top of it all might be a bridge too far, considering everyone is nearby in the mid lane, and Titan has control of the bottom wave, but they can try to turn this into a forced fight. Silas already used his flash. That was cute, indeed.
Didn't amount too much, but you see a bit of a fight. Tally is going back and forth. Players are angry, trying to get something going.
I mean, you just can't compete with an Aatrox at this stage of the game who's starting to come online, doesn't really even have big items. We'll, of course, get that first one in just a moment in the Gore Drinker.
He's fat right now.
But
he is gigantic.
He's about to cash in the checks, and you can't take a fight against him. You lost your flash as Grefthar. So not only can you not defend that last bit of health on your mid turret, but you can't stop the Drake either. I mean, this is one of those games where everything that happens from this moment on, barring a huge miracle comeback for Red Canids, you just have to excuse, because you're playing with one hand tied behind your back.
Yeah, certainly does feel that way. And Visitachi is just enjoying a fine time up in the top side. He's down 20 CS, doesn't seem to care all too much. He's just buying those tank items. And he'll be doing his job, like I said before, you know, even if he falls behind, like the Yone might be a bit of a problem, but as long as he executes in team fights and he uses his steadfast presence at the exact right time, he should be in a good spot here.
Violet will pick up the MasterCard Mythic purchase of that Gale Force for some extra mobility against the Silas, the Lisa, and the Yone, right? I mean, there's still a lot of ways things can go wrong if you don't have that ability to reposition, so just a little bit of extra safety here. It's not about the survivability like you would with an Immortal Shield Boat. In this particular case, it's just about not getting caught by that CC.
All right, well now everybody's trying to get on top of Tally, but look at this, they don't quite have the damage to kill the Aatrox. Finally, they come in. Ego as well from the left actually gets some damage down, as Visitachi is here with the steadfast presence, going to deny a lot. The knock up here on the Jojo, but there's the knock up from Jojo onto Aladoric. They nearly take him down. The stopwatch is used. Now Visitachi not in the best spot. He gets the stun up against the wall, but that will be about it, and Red Canids strike back.
Very big overextension here from the side of Peace. This was a 4v5 fight as Violet stayed in the bottom lane the entire time. Now he is going to get some extra value right before the plate falls. So that's a nice pickup there of 160 extra gold. But you are giving a big turn, a big flip of gold back to Red Canids. They're still significantly behind. You're going to need more than just a single one of these to get back into the game. But this happens twice. You have another mistake as Peace out in the lane. Overextend, commit to a fight. And you might actually have a comeback on your hand.
Well, we're going to take a look here at the new Axe Effect replay as we do see that Tally. He just gets jumped upon. I mean, it's 3v1 for the longest time, and even Gigo comes in from the left.
Yeah, and you could see that, unfortunately, Aladoric is super deep, trying to get a lot of that vision on the blue side. So he comes back in, they try to turn this fight around, and yes, they do get the pick there onto the Lee Sin, but there's no way out against this composition that has so much lockdown and so much CC. So you're ahead, you feel like I've got an opportunity to collapse with the Leona coming through, but it ends up being Peace biting off more than they could chew here, and the 1-for-3 is not what you want.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, Peace are still in a good spot, but a little bit of a bump along the way. We'll see how they can go from here. They took down that mid-tier 1 so early on that you would imagine these next objectives that are coming up here should be in their control, but Red Canids got that early Infernal Drake. That was like the one good thing that they had from the early game. And we'll see if maybe, you know, off the back of that last team fight, can they get some momentum and maybe fight for the second Rift Herald? We'll have to wait and see, as it feels like Peace are trying to lock it down and try not to make any more mistakes.
Peace are just trying to control vision so hard right now around this Rift Herald pit. I mean, they're putting down deep control wards here. Vizitachi's pushing hard. And Bob's at the point in this game where he can absolutely turn a skirmish into his favor.
They're just going in. I mean, Vizitachi is running underneath the turret because he has so much support up here on the top side. 3 members as well as Violet running through the river.
They are giving away that bottom turret for free here, so need to either get out or commit. Can't happy feet here for too long. They're find themselves falling behind.
They're going to use the sleep there onto JoJo, but, you know, at most it gives them a lot of space. That's the one thing it does. You know, it looks kind of silly, but it actually pushes the enemy team really far back because the Rakan has to run away so far. So it does open up this top turret a little bit sooner for Peace.
Now the question is, can they collapse and kill Grevthar? Because he's going all in on this. He's not just going to be happy with the one turret. He's going for a second here as well. Continuing to push this through. Tally's got to catch the wave in mid. And it's not just the turret they get on the top side for that Sylas pressure. It's going to be the top turret plus that deep vision that we were talking about and the second Rift Herald. So there's a lot being gained here. And they will force the Sylas out. So Grevthar has to retreat. They're looking for a pick on a Tally, but he's not having it.
Yeah, he's level 12, and, you know, he's got safety boots. He's just kind of running away from everything. He stays in the right side, or the left side, rather, of the lane where he has vision, so he knows that even if they come from the right, he's totally fine. Probably should have known that they were there as well, as Red Canids are going to go for this dragon, and Peace are a little bit slow to collapse on in here. You would imagine at this point in the game with their lead, they would like to collapse on this one, as Vizitachi is taking a ton of damage, and that will be the blue team. Red Canids taking down the dragon, but it is chaos in the dragon pit here. Gigo's going to be the first to fall, as Grevthar is getting in there trying to frontline, and Vizitachi is still alive, by the way. Huge damage from the Xayah, though, in the team fight, as that is short-lived. Just frontlining a little bit too much there was Titan. Still has his ultimate and is not able to use it on time, and Peace are continuing to collapse. As here comes Tally, he is gigantic on this Aatrox. He'll take down one, and you gotta imagine they're looking for more. Aegis not in a very fun spot, and with the Gravitum, they are looking for it here.
I mean, he's not healthy enough to look for the fight. He wants to trade one back.
There's a teleport. The teleport. I'm not sure about that. Okay, he's gonna get the one kill, and the Triumph comes through.
Out.
Look at that. The Lee Sin escape plays coming back.
Hey, Gore Drinker.
He's not in a good spot. He will be taken down.
The battle of the Gore Drinkers. Gore Drinkers are a pretty good item, Valdez, and it's going to help him stay alive. He survives there in what looked like a fantastic exchange for Peace. I mean, I was already kind of getting ready to say, well, I mean, they got the Drake, but what did it cost? What was the trade back that you get as Peace? All that extra gold. But Red Canids actually do really flip this on its head with some really effective plays there from Aegis. But the same problems still stand here for Red Canids. They didn't win the fight on the objective in this mid game, And that's because Aatrox is so strong at these types of fights, these types of skirmishes. Pair that with Lilia, it's going to be difficult to deal with. And it doesn't get easier because they still have this extremely tanky Poppy to fall back on that's going to help set up this very quickly becoming a powerhouse Aphelios later on in the late game. So as Red Canids, you really need to start taking permanent control over the map. You can't be trading kills like this at best case. You need to be doing more. You need to be controlling the vision. And that's what they're going to try to do, wrestling that top vision here away.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're kind of highlighting, I think eventually in this game it might just become a battle of the 80 carries. As Violet, he's going to have a ton of protection, but Titan he's keeping up, you know, and a lot of these plays are going decently in the mid game as now they're trying to turn this one around. Our piece maybe going a little bit too deep. Are the Red Canids as the sleep comes in and the teleports are there, as he will be able to take down the support Jojo on the side of the Red Canids.
A really nice turn there from Peace to get that pick onto Jojo, and they're not done with this just yet. They're going to drop the Rift Herald down here mid. That's going to be a lot of potential inner turret gold coming through. Vivitachi could go back to the top side now and clean that up. And at this stage, Red Canids, like, again, they're looking for these aggressive picks, but we're not really seeing Gigo actually connect with his ultimate. If you end up getting 2 or 3 players, or if you get the squishy backline with that Yone ult, you're going to feel great. You can get a pick, you can look for a 5v4 fight, but these just keep going wide, and they double down on the play to see, okay, we've got everybody grouped up here. Maybe we can get a pick, but it's once again the Leona who's caught. How many times have we seen this happen in the play-in stage? Leona gets caught, then just turns around, just almost full health, and they actually stick around too long. And once the teleport comes through, Jojo is caught and picked.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go for that Lilia, you got to know that she's got flash. As here we go, the Battle of the World Enders is gonna come through. As I think Tally just a bit more fed than you, Griftar. You're gonna have to run away, as we do have Predator Lilia breathing down his neck as well, and that will be the kill going over to Bobif once again.
Yep, he just going to hang around the bottom side. This time not going to be as opportunistic as he was the last time with those low health bars. Gio getting a lot of free push done here on the top side of the map. The rotation coming through a little bit slow. No teleports up right now on the side of Peace, so he can actually get away with this. Or can he?
That is the question. The slow rotation coming up to the top side. Vivitachi, the Poppy, really able to keep him around, and Gigo is not having any of it. He wants to go for the fight, but here comes the rotation. There's the ultimate onto Violet. Ton of damage. This Yone is kind of going crazy, but he will get stunned down right at the last moment and allow Violet to pick up yet another kill.
On the bottom side of the map, there was a lot of, there was a little bit of an almost skirmish around that Dragon Vision, but Tally doesn't have to take that fight. He's able to hold his own. They can't commit onto him because he's Aatrox. And Aatrox who now has the Gordreaker and the Sterak. So even though you have 3 players committing to kill 1 on the top side of the map, the timing of this for Red Canids is so unfortunate because there's no objective you can get elsewhere. And maybe if it's not a fed Aatrox, maybe if it's almost anyone else around that Drake pick, you could maybe get a pick. But not able to even do that. They do maintain that vision control. They are going to have this choke point controlled for when that Drake spawns in 15 seconds. And they'll look for the fight here. Controlling this choke and controlling that vision is so important. You can see Peace don't have any idea where they are standing, so the approach here has to be so slow and methodical.
Okay, well, that's going to be a face check from Aladoric. Not very slow there, but they do get the big Drowsy onto 2. That's a ton of damage onto Jojo, but that's just the support. Tally is going super deep, and now Violet has all the room in the world, though Gigo is trying to get on top of him, and that's really the question. Can you take away Violet? The answer will be no, as Vivitachi and Tally will run through them. A triple kill onto the side of this Aphelios as the long-range Graviton will come through, and Aegis will be taken down. The sad P shines as Peace will take another huge team fight.
Vivitachi is just eating the last turret shots as they don't look at explosions. These cool guys, they run right over to the Baron, and with this decisive fight win, they can get more than just a Baron. They can control some of that vision around the Baron pit, get a free turret. I mean, the world is yours to take as Peace, and this has been a lead that has compounded upon itself. Yes, there were a few hiccups along the way, there were a few bumps, there were a few mistakes and a few picks, but overall, in terms of controlling the game around this Aatrox mid pick, it's just been so fantastic. You get the pick onto Aladoric here as Red Canids, but you have to respect the follow-up engage. Jojo's the only one hit there with the double stopwatch, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, is once the Aatrox is in onto the fight, you're not going to be able to kill him, and there's so much free damage here from Violator. The Sylas is the only one who could really turn and try to make this happen as everybody else gets chunked low, and Peace just have the better team fighting comp. They're so far ahead, there's just so few options here as Red Canids.
Well, the coaches, they're just so confident, leaning back. It's like, yeah, we knew this was going to happen. And yeah, like you said, I mean, if you can't get onto the Aphelios, you're not going to win the fight. And it was kind of sad to watch what Aegis was doing in that one, as we do have a Red Bull Baron power play in favor of Peace as they do take down the Baron. But yeah, I mean, Aegis was knocked up against the wall by the Poppy. Then he tried to get away from the Poppy. He got steadfast presence. At least he got over the wall. Yeah, and then he was just running away. Like, there was just nothing that this backline access could do for the side of Red. The Yone wasn't there on time to really capitalize.
And you mentioned the range issue that they have with Azaya. I mean, Azaya isn't in a position to really poke and chip away, so you can't win a front-to-back team fight against an Aatrox that's basically permanently extremely tanky, so difficult to kill. Even if you bring him low, he can just walk away, then Poppy takes his place. And how do you break through that as the Zaya? In order to even chip away and try to front-to-back as Zaya, you're putting yourself in harm's way, so you're never really safe, so you're not going to see a lot of damage coming out of Titan this game, unfortunately. And again, it's just now a matter of Baron minions crashing into inhibitor turrets. There's no vision on the map. There's no hope. I mean, I think if you're Red Canids, you're thinking about Game 4 right now.
Might be on the cards here. Peace are going to be looking for this inhibitor. They do have the 4-1 going. The Everfrost is going to land on the Tali, but
look at how tanky he is. Look how survivable he is.
Yeah, I mean, he uses his World Ender. I suppose that's the one good thing for the side of the Red Canids. They get the ultimate away, but that is it because this inhibitor is going to go down, and they still have Baron. They're really pushing this Red Bull Baron power play as far as they possibly can, as there is a massive Moonlight Vigil onto 3 of them, just wrecking that back line as they might descend it here. I mean, we're only 25 minutes into the game. Peace gonna take their time with it. They will back away and respect the 5v5, and they will look to take down the turret first.
All right, taking down Nexus turret is permanent damage. They're not done yet.
Yeah, he just finds out what's what when you're playing into the Poppy as Lee Sin. You get to do absolutely nothing. Even Gigo's ult does nothing either, as he will immediately go down. Titan is also chunked down, and 9-1-6 will be the end for Violet, who had the most comfortable game ever with this team composition. Peace take a super dominant win there, 2-1 in the series.
Sally's Aatrox was MVP, such control of the mid game. This draft was strong from start to finish, and you didn't have a good way to get onto the backline. You didn't have a good way to get onto the Aphelios. I mean, you think about ways to get on top of carries. You think about Yone and Sylas as two of the best ones, but when the front line is this strong, you can never break through. You fall behind early. And this game was really over 10 minutes before the Nexus fell.
That's what happens when you